From Abuja.
It's all about the human struggle to raise the level of living. That's what it's all about. I'm Magnus Packle, and this is Magnus Packle GVA. I appreciate you being a part of our show. In view today, the Nigeria National Conference. Will it be transformational? We talked to Mr. Okewale, the president of the Nigeria Bar Association. But before that, in our quick view, we look at the economic miracle of Mauritius. That's coming right up. The Republic of Mauritius, a small country of only 2,040 square kilometers and a population of about 1.3 million, was ranked third in Africa in the United Nations Human Development Index in 2012. It is ranked the 8th freest economy in the world, according to the 2013 Index of Economic Freedom. It has one of the largest exclusive economic zones in the world. In 2012, Mauritius, with $15,649, had one of the highest per capita GDP in Africa at purchasing power parity. What Mauritius has accomplished is extraordinary. Mauritius used to be a small, poor country that lacked exploitable natural resources. Mauritius has rapidly transformed from a low-income agriculture-based economy of sugar production to a middle-income diversified economy of tourism, textiles, ICT, real estate development, manufacturing, and renewable energy. Real GDP growth averaged 5% in the last 3 decades, while GDP per capita, we noted earlier, increased more than 10 times during this period. How did it happen? Is it really a miracle? It is, if we want to regretfully say that in Africa, transformation through prudent economic management is a miracle. Prudent and practical economic management with a monetary policy that stabilized inflation and exchange rates and promoted competitiveness, and fiscal measures tightly linked to available resources are the tools that Mauritius has employed to transform the economy. Tax incentives and favorable long-term loans are given to exporting companies, and strong investments are continually made in infrastructure to support commerce and especially the free trade zones. And in this, the rule of law prevails. The benefits of Mauritius' sound judicial system, anti-corruption measures, and political stability also serve to prove the importance of fairness, the rule of law, and inclusive economic growth. Perhaps Africa is watching. Still in view, how transformational is Nigeria's National Conference? But up next in our Hidden Economics, lessons from the Real Housewives of Africa. It's time for the Real Housewives of Africa to stand up. Across the world, housewives have established themselves as a potent force for marketplace activities. They sit down in their homes and tally up their household budget with whatever amount of income they have, big or small. there is almost always never ever any hint of corruption. In most cases, the housewife receives a budget envelope that must be adhered to for the family's survival. And the household lives precariously on whatever little income is earmarked for consumption. Okay, let us look at the economics that the housewife faces. The housewife knows that disposable income is that income the husband brings home after paying income taxes. She also knows that this disposable income may either be spent or saved. In school, they teach economics students that disposable income equals consumption spending plus saving. Every housewife knows this and focuses on the consumption expenditure component of it. It is important for husbands to be transparent about the amount of saving they have to put to the side. A real housewife may be compelled to show a bit of her other side that she had probably suppressed for years if she finds out that their little saving is used frivolously by the husband. So husbands, pay attention to this if you don't want the smoke in the kitchen to get into the bedroom. Now, it is amazing how housewives get it right almost every time when they share their income between capital expenditure and recurrent. They know that the kid has to be in school and the school fees have to be paid. The mortgage or rent also has to be paid. Perchance there are health issues in the family. This must also be paid for. These are all capital expenditure payments. The real housewife knows that if they can't make these payments from their normal consumption portion of the income, they must borrow to finance the deficit. They also know that the borrowed funds must be affordable and on sustainable terms. Otherwise, they imperil the future well-being of the family. They also know their source of income and must ensure that that source stays peaceful and viable through the foreseeable future. Often, they pray for the continued viability of this source. The real housewives of Africa may do well to organize themselves and be ready to offer advice to governments across the board. What they have to offer is not just beauty and care for the household. As their husbands know, they can provide a lot more. Our hidden economics for you. Since the amalgamation of northern and southern Nigeria by Sir Frederick Lugard in 1914, there have been several national and constitutional conferences which either led to the creation of a new constitution or were aimed at creating or amending one. Recently, President Goodluck Jonathan has called for a national conference and set up an advisory committee. To discuss this, we had in our studio the very erudite O.K. Wali, president of the Nigeria Bar Association, a great legal luminary who has covered and followed trends in legal practice in Nigeria, Africa, and across the world. Please join me in our discussion. Well, thank you, Mr. Wali, to be in our studio. We're very happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And also want to mention that we're extremely proud of you.
Thank you.
And pleased with the excellent job you're doing as president of the Nigeria Bar Association.
Thank you.
Now, the magnitude of the tax ahead of Nigeria now is huge. And now the President Jonathan has come up with an advisory committee for this so-called national conference. It's been the case that some people have called it National Sovereign Conference, some people call it dialogue, but whatever it is, it seems to me that it is an important issue facing the country. And speaking of nation building, what do you think is the purpose for this national conference that the president is calling?
Well, I think only the president can tell us his purpose for calling for this national dialogue. But one thing is clear. Nigerians have always clamored for this. And I think that one thing intriguing about it is that it came from the Blues. They've called for it. We've called for it over the years, 10 years or more. For as long as I can remember in recent past, Nigerians have always called. The late Chief Inahoro led body, and a lot of other bodies have called for. Regional bodies have called for national conference. Listen, we need to talk. We need to talk. So, and it came at a point where people were focusing on other issues. Nobody was talking about that anymore. So naturally, there's some suspicion. Wait a minute, what is going on here? Why is this coming? What is the possible motive? Nobody was asking for it that badly at this point when the president has offered it. There must be a motive. But my attitude, and which represents the view of the Nigerian Bar Association, is that in all of that, let us deal with the issue as we have. There are challenges that will come with it, but we should grab the opportunity. There's an opportunity to talk. Yeah. With a lot of challenges, with a lot of suspicions.
We're going to come to those challenges. Now, the question is, the president has set up this advisory committee. The advisory committee is to advise who? The nation, or to advise the president?
Here is a unique issue.
It's a peculiar
issue. Yeah. You now need persons. We do, even as in our little field of the Bar Association, we do that. That's why you find out that we have committees and all of that's what to do. If there's an issue like that, you sit back as president, you look at the membership, you look at for your personal knowledge of some of these persons, who am I going to put together to look at this issue? I think that's what the president has done. Okay. But then, on what they will be doing with the reports, I think we'll wait for the president to tell us whether they're advising him, whether they have the latitude to move from here. He has set them up. They probably will expect them to come with guidelines and modalities on how they wish to conduct the proceedings for this dialogue. Will they just run off with it right away? Are they getting back to the president for the president to now say, look, this is the report I've received. Based on this report, these are the guidelines, these are the modalities on how I want this program to run. I think for us, wait and see game for now.
The NBA itself, very important organization in Nigeria. Do they have any views on this matter? Is it something that, say, even before the president spoke to the issue? Has it been an issue that the NBA has looked at, maybe not even during your tenure as president, but in the past? Has the NBA taken any stance, any sort of position on the need for a national conference and what they want it to be?
Yes, over the years, we had always called for a national conference. But like I said, this, as it were, came from the Blues. Yes. So there might not have been immediate positions of the Bar Association. But of course, the issues that we expect to be thrown up at the conference are issues that are known to everybody. I mean, issues of true federalism and all of that. A lot of issues will have to be addressed. There are issues that we all have positions on already. But the fact of calling for a national dialogue, the NBA had done in a long while. I remember even as far back as the tenure of the late Alawa Kabasharu during the military, he was an ardent advocate for a national conference. So,
and what did they want out of it at that time?
So over the years, it's been this issue of Nigeria was just lumped up together, and the persons who constitute the country never really had an opportunity to discuss and come up with the way they want the country to run. And over the years, up to when Akam Bashir was president of the Bar Association, of course that was the military era, we needed to talk. That's why you see there's a slight difference with what we have now, because in the era of the military, it was most apt that before we moved into any constitutional development, we needed to talk.
I think you have a pretty good point here, though, that when people were agitating, it was because we had military rule.
Yes.
But now we have a constitution.
Yes.
But then if you even go back before independence, people had said that Nigeria is a thing that was just put together, a group of nations, so to speak, ethnic nations or nationalities put together. But so is Kenya, so is Ghana, so is Togo. I mean, these guys found themselves after independence, this is how we are. They haven't said that oh, by the way, let us come and undo ourselves and redo and come back and try to see how we come together. How come in Nigeria People have thought that we should undo what has been done, that we'll just love together, and let's come back and see whether we really want to be together. It's just to not preempt you, but my sense is it because the people are not very happy with outcomes within the system?
Well, firstly, I would say it is an issue of different strokes for different folks. Different persons have reacted to issues differently. Secondly, like you rightly pointed out, we don't seem to have managed ourselves very well.
Yes.
Maybe it's our size. Maybe it's the way we were put together. Maybe for other countries it worked out better for them. They were able to manage their situation. We evidently, for whatever reasons, haven't done well in managing ourselves. And again, I don't want to dwell with terminologies.
Yes.
For me, it's more of let us talk. It's not. I do not think that whether or not Nigeria should continue as a country is on the table. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody is saying that. I think its issue really should be how do we run this country? How do we manage ourselves in the country? I believe we have found ourselves where we are. I believe what should be our priority is how to manage ourselves right. So it's not an issue of when they put us together, whether they should have put us together, we have been put together,
yes.
and we're here. Yes. And I don't think that is up for discussion at this moment. What should be up for us?
I thought people are saying that there should be no-go areas. So isn't that and we say now that's a no-go area?
No, that's, for me,
yeah.
I'm not the president of
yeah.
the country. I think what people will be saying is, we don't want any dictations. We do not want the president telling us, don't discuss this.
Okay.
But speaking as an individual, that's my view,
yeah.
that we shouldn't be going that far.
Yeah.
We should be talking about solutions to our problems.
And I agree with you. I think that most people want a united, strong Nigeria. I really, from just talking to people, I mean, I want that too. But I think that the problem is that some people feel that there isn't equity, there isn't fairness in the system. There isn't equal opportunity in the system. And they think that the system is not competent and efficient enough, and historically so. Because otherwise, if we were happy with the state of our roads, with security, with our incomes, with jobs, and all of these things, then perhaps people might not worry about let's talk. Because what would they be talking about if they're happy? So perhaps that's what it is. Not so much that people want to go their separate ways, but how are we going to do that? The question is, how are we going to do that? Are we going to get all the ethnic groups to assemble in Abuja? Can Abuja contain them?
There are several areas of concern. But like I said, it's patience. It calls for patience. Let's wait and hear what the steering committee is going to come up with. Yeah. Because you see, those questions have been asked. How are we going to have nominations to the conference?
Yes.
Are they going to be elected? On what basis are they going to be elected? Is it ethnic nationalities? Is it local governments? Is it senatorial districts? Are we going to have elections like we've had elections to sample to the National Assembly? So those are the issues that we need to be patient with, because you see, ultimately that will go a long way in determining the credibility of the whole exercise.
Sure.
That's why some people are a bit restrained. Is it going to be another jamboree? Is it going to be another drain pipe? If you get out people in Abuja, like you said, why are they going to say who's going to quarter them, who's going to pay for them, are they going to be expensive, are they going to be allowances and all that? Do we really have the resources?
But isn't that where people like you come in, even as an individual and as head of a very important organization like the NBA, to advise the advisory committee? Because the advisory committee are not spirits or gods that have emerged from somewhere. They are, from what I can see, it appears that they are also consulting with people to try to get ideas. If you were to advise the advisory committee, what would your advice be to them?
Well, if I was to advise them, firstly, I would say that we must not spend money unduly on this exercise. We must not turn it to another jamboree where people are going to come to Abuja and get paid. I believe we all love this country, and we must be ready to make sacrifices. If we must talk, then let the motivating spirit be service to this nation.
Yeah.
And so there must be no program that would lead to so much money being spent on the exercise. And that means anybody who wants to serve this country should be willing to come and talk without looking at financial reward or gains for it. That is one.
Yeah.
Then two is you have to have a spread. Because for me, it's going to be more of getting the right people to deal with the situations that we know. If we're talking about federalism, true federalism, we should be looking at people who will understand what that concept means.
Yes. I believe President Goodluck Jonathan has got it right by calling for a national conference which has been widely demanded by Nigerians for a long time. Sometimes timing is everything. Approaching the ever so anticipated 2015 general elections, when there have been various prognostications, with some including a national apocalypse, President Jonathan has seized the bull by the horn. Now, what's going to happen? Can his transformation program include actually fixing Nigeria of its ailments using the conference? Yes, he can. But he must be very careful. The national conference, this is the big one, the mother of them all. To raise your hand and have them sing your national anthem, like in the Olympics, you must win. And I'm not talking about President Jonathan. I'm talking about Nigeria. Nigeria must win through this conference. Someone should tell the president that he has spoken and has set up an advisory committee to get the ball rolling. That the game has now started and must be concluded because the whole world is watching. There is no going back. However, not going back does not mean that the president must be stampeded into concluding the conference in 2014 before the start of perhaps party primaries. This will be too much speed, even faster than the speed that General Secretary Mikhail Gorbachev of the former Soviet Union used to implement his policies of perestroika and glasnost, a combination that most people think hastened the collapse of the Soviet Empire. President Jonathan won an essentially three-way race with around 60% of the votes. This is extraordinary and suggests he has goodwill, even if a bit eroded, to transform the nation using the national conference. However, we will wait for the advisory committee to present its recommendations. Hopefully, they will suggest that we use 2014 to discuss the modalities and nature of the conference, which after all may turn out to be conferences at the local, state, and federal levels. The modalities and related issues will become campaign items. Let us for once have real issues to discuss in our election campaigns. Bottom line, what we want is to have a Nigeria that invests in its people and is fair, with equal opportunity and equitable distribution of income. I'm Magnus Pakol, and that's my view.